Welcome into the spring sports season finale of This Week in Lebanon Warriors Athletics here on LebanonWarriors.com and ESPN powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. Once again, Lebanon Athletic Director Keith Pantling joining us here on the podcast. Keith, good to be back with you once again. We're wrapping up the spring sports season here on the podcast. Obviously, some teams still going for it in the postseason, and we'll talk about that as we go along here today. Let's start off on the diamond with your softball team winning a share of the league title in its first year, having to win the regular season finale to do it, but you wind up sharing the league title with Milford. And also we saw in the last couple of weeks, Coach Brian Kendall pick up his 400th career win in only 16 years at Lebanon. You do the math, that's 25 wins a year he's been averaging during his tenure at Lebanon. Pretty incredible stuff there. As far as this year goes, you're going to get Tecumseh in the third round of the state tournament. But I want to talk more here today about Coach Kendall. I know we had him on the podcast a few weeks back. Obviously, it's been a short time that you've had with Coach Kendall and working with him and seeing how he's coached and leading these young ladies to great success, obviously, from the GWAC and now into the ECC. In your time working with him, what stood out to you as a key reason as to why he has had so much success at Lebanon?
I think the fact that you look at the relationships he has with the players, the way they respond to him, obviously has great knowledge of the game, but I think it comes down to relationships and second, how humble he is. You know, if you saw any of the interviews or anything that were kind of going around, you know, he credits the kids, their hard work, the talent that's come through, but you know, and kind of pushes it off onto others. But there's a lot of credit to be owed to Coach Kendall for the success of that program, from the off-season training to the way he's built it up, the way he engages youth organizations and all that. It's all encompassing. When you look back on the success that they've had, you know, it's really impressive. And he's thanked so many people, all the different assistant coaches and parents and things that have come through the program. But that's what it is. It's a program, and he's helped build it to what it is today, and they'll continue to have great success.
Saw some of the pictures coming after win number 400, celebrating with the team and obviously everything that goes into that. And I found it funny that seeing part of his reward for 400 wins, I think, was a 6-pack of Diet Coke and I think a bag of Sour Patch Kids, which goes to show how interesting of a guy he can be. But also, I think to that respect, some of that lightheartedness from that perspective carries over to the field. Do you get that sense as well that he allows the kids to enjoy the game because he enjoys the game himself?
Yeah, their response was really cool to see. And, you know, I always say, you know, you could tell a coach by the engagement of their alumni and the amount of former players that came out to congratulate or engaged with us on social media and things that were proud of Coach and the time that they had with them and proud members of the program. Just speaks volumes. So again, those relationships with the kids is what it's all about at the end of the day, and the positive impact he's had on so many.
Over on the baseball side of things here, you know, obviously still work to be done here as well against West Claremont to start the postseason. Obviously, you're very familiar with them. You both finished 9-9 in the ECC, and we've talked here on the show before about how this league essentially just beat itself up as the year went along, day in and day out. So many teams in contention for the league title, really until the last week or week and a half, for sure. But you look at the way things shook out on the year, you know, 13-12 right now, our record is. Do you look at that and the way things set up as far as the postseason draw goes, that had this league not been so brutal on a day-to-day basis, you're looking at a team here that's maybe closer to 20 wins as opposed to just one game over 500?
Sure. But I think, you know, you get to the postseason and it's, you know, everyone's 0-0. And we talked about it when we first came on this spring about the depth of pitching for the Warriors, and on the top of that rotation, especially, is very, very talented. So I think our kids, especially our seniors, which is such a great group of guys. You look at Jack Wilson, Connor Smith, Zach Weber, Brad Beiersdorfer, Wyatt Lawson. I mean, these guys they're ready to go, and they want one last run at this thing. And when you have the type of pitching that you have, we can play with anybody, and they know that. So I think if the bats get going, we can certainly have a nice little run here in the postseason. So, I think we're going in confident, to be honest, and we know we can beat anybody on any given day if everyone's playing their best ball. So I think we're going to get a focused team today, and moving on into the postseason, if we can string together some hits and our pitching does what it's supposed to do. Now that the rotation kind of shrinks, and you're just using your best couple guys. So I think we're kind of made for the postseason run, to be honest with you. We'll see what we can do.
What would you consider a successful postseason run then, given the fact that, as we said, the overall record was what it was because you played in such a tough league, but your pitching staff has been very good, especially as of late here, and we're wanting to see the bats continue to improve there. How would you characterize a good postseason run for this team?
Well, obviously you want to win a couple games, but I don't think you can necessarily judge success just on the wins and losses. I mean, if they go out and play one heck of a game and West Claremont just has, their best game of the year, or kids firing on all cylinders on the mound, I mean, it is what it is. But I would certainly think they're capable of winning some games. So we'll just take it one at a time and see what they can do today. Hopefully we get that field ready. We're out there working hard on it, and we can play today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And hopefully the Mother Nature is able to cooperate the rest of the day so we can get that game in and don't have any delays from that perspective. Let's move on. Let's talk about your tennis team here. They were in the sectionals up at Centerville over the weekend. Had a couple guys get to the third round there. Tamir Whitaker and Adam Qureshi each get to the third round before bowing out. So they don't make it on the districts. However, we look at the way things set up going forward now. You're slated to get both those guys back next year. And so they got more postseason experience here, along with some other returners you'll have going on into next year as well. How do these two plan on using this postseason experience, where they get a couple of wins under their belts, to try and get themselves better heading into the summertime and ultimately into next year?
Yeah, I know the coaches were really proud of them, especially because some of our seniors went into doubles action for the tournament, which we talked about before. And so they were probably playing out of position in slotted in second singles and wherever else they were. So probably, were out of position and played some competition that they weren't ready quite, at that level yet. And so I think that's really going to bode well for them going into next year, having those games under their belt, especially the postseason tournament, seeing the ECC for the first time. So hopefully they continue to work in the off season. That's a sport you have to, stay on and continue to grow and hone your skills year round. So coach does a great job, and he also coaches our girls team. So they're going to continue to work hard and hopefully elevate those two programs going into next year.
How much better do you think that each of those programs will be next year, given that they should be able to take advantage of a full off-season training program through the summer and even for the boys into the fall?
Yeah, it's certainly beneficial, but all the other teams are going to be able to do that as well. So they really got to put in the work and, and commit to it. And if you want to be good at something, obviously you have to put the time and energy and effort in and get out there, even when coach isn't there or coach isn't looking. You got to have some type of regimen together. And, if you want to be successful at anything, that's just, that's what it takes. So, I think that these guys in particular are serious about it and will continue to grow as tennis players.
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about track and field. They were at the ECC championships last week. Boys, very nice showing, finishing third behind Loveland and Turpin there. And the girls wind up finishing fifth, with Loveland also winning on the girls' side there. Who stood out there to you? And do you feel like the performances there, both individually and team-wise, can give them confidence that they can, not only get into the districts, but advance to the regional and even beyond that?
Obviously, our distance program, since getting here, obviously the success we had in cross country, and so many of them run distance for track. But you look at Faith Duncan, who won the 1600, came in second in the 800. And then freshman Elena Wilson won the 1600. It's just freshman in the ECC, which is pretty awesome. And then on the boys' side, more of our sprinters really, and our jumps. Elijah Doster and Mason Combs finished 4 or 5 in the 100. Elijah third in the 200. The boys relay team did well, and then Austin Miller and Mason Combs finished third and fourth in the long jump, and Judson Jones fourth in the discus. So they spread the wealth a little bit more, if you will, and had some success across the board. On the girls' side, our distance was really well, but Morgan Cope continued to be so impressed by her. She actually ranked 41st in the world recently. I just learned this in the CrossFit Games for her age group. So she is a force to be reckoned with, and went 13-4 in the 100, and then she jumped, I think it was 11.5 at the meet. She has a new school record at 11.7 here, but pole vaulting, just really impressive. So she's quite the athlete. So all around, just a lot of success. Kudos to Loveland, Turpin, those guys that were up there. I mean, they have very deep programs. We'll continue to try to grow and build in every category, but really proud of their effort. Anderson for hosting, great atmosphere out there, and first year in the ECC, couldn't be happier. So our coaches do a great job, great programs for track and field.
How much do you think the success that they showed here at this tournament, at this meet, I should say, from both the boys and the girls, but in particular the youth side of things, how much do you think that can spur you into the future to get those numbers up? And when the kids come in from the middle school, junior high level into the high school level, it'll further pique their interest, and then they'll want to come out and be a part of it.
Yeah, I think it certainly generates a competitive spirit within the program. I mean, I'll be honest, if I was a junior getting beat out by a freshman in anything, I'd probably, kick me in the rear end a little bit to work hard and train harder. So that type of competition certainly can breed results. We also had an 8th grader who was in the state meet this weekend, Zay Davenport, and he went second in the 110 hurdles. And then also competed, I think he went 8th, so he had a podium finish in the 200 hurdles. So he's going to be coming up, and our kids already know about him. He's quite the popular when we posted that on Instagram. That was one of our most liked things. So the kids know who he is and how talented he is. And so it just goes to show you, yeah, they see that, and it can certainly drive, competition and, the way you train.
Let's move to lacrosse, and let's start with the girls first. And finished 3rd in the ECC overall. Really good start there, and also developing this program, as this is the first year. Also, this was a sanctioned sport at Lebanon, so you're making that move to the ECC and also bringing this up to the varsity level for the first time. And they finished 3rd in the ECC. That's a good showing there. Get into the postseason and just have an absolute barn burner with St. Ursula, and ultimately come up one short as St. Ursula wins 14-13 there. Break down this game for us, and either seeing it yourself or talking to the coaches there, and just kind of how it all shook out there. And ultimately your thoughts on the success of the program in its first year as a varsity sport.
Well, I was there for the entire game on the edge of my seat. I don't think anyone got up by more than 2 goals. So it was back and forth all night. I told coach, I thought it was the best game we played all year against a comparable opponent. Really, that sport, if you ever watched it in detail, it kind of comes down to possessions. You lose a face-off here, or you lose a couple in a row, and they have more possessions than you do. And all of a sudden they have the advantage towards scoring more goals in simplest form. So, a penalty there at the end hurt us, where we were down a girl, but really just great effort, a great game. It could have went either way. So I think what I'd like to share about the program and talking with coach is that this senior class, talk about it being a new program, they kind of entered in when this was a grassroots movement at the youth level in town. And those seniors, Allison Bishop, Mia Rask, Lauren Kent, Ansley Chartrand, Audrey Kilgallen, Gracie Robinson, Maddie Hodgson, really kind of are leaving their mark on the program. They came through the youth ranks, built it up, worked really hard, stuck together, leave with a record above 500 in the ECC, and all in all drove this thing to being sanctioned at the high school. So really, really great group of girls that will be remembered a long time in the program.
Over on the boys' side of things, also a 3rd place finish in the first year in the ECC. They get Lakota East to start the postseason. a little bit later tonight on a Tuesday there. How do you make take stock of their season in general, and also, of course, their first year in the ECC as well?
Well, I was kind of joking, you can have a pretty good year, but you can't run and hide in lacrosse because only so many teams have squads. So
Hmm.
you'd like to see Lakota East a couple more weeks into the postseason, but we had a tough game against them earlier in the year. We go over to their place tonight, and I think our coach is okay. We played them a couple months ago, and he thinks we're a different team. So hopefully, we'll give it our all and see what we can do. But definitely competed well in the ECC, and which has some really, really good lacrosse. So program continues to grow. The youth program's doing great here in the community, and looking forward to future success with the program.
What's been your reaction in your short time at Lebanon to the growth and the enthusiasm for the game of lacrosse? It's a rapidly expanding game seemingly everywhere. A lot of schools either have or adding it to the varsity slot or are on the verge of doing so and bringing it up from club status, if you will, right there. Are you sensing in and around the Lebanon community that there is a genuine passion to continue to grow this game at Lebanon High School?
Absolutely. I think it's the area in general. Originally being from Western New York, you know, it's it it kind of took hold there when I was younger,
Hmm.
and elevated, and they produced some really, really good lacrosse players. And I think that the this area, weather-wise and everything else, to sport where it can really flourish. It translates well to football type players in terms of on the male side. And then you look at the opportunity for the growth at the college level. You see Xavier just added it to as a girls sports at the college level here this week.
Hmm.
The growth at that level will create more opportunities for high schoolers to play at the next level. And so I think that drives some of it too. The popularity at the college level um, then transitions down to the high school level. So I think those areas where it's happening at the college level will continue to see more and more added at the high school level. But this is a talent-rich area across the board, as you know, for high school
Hmm.
sports and recruits moving on in multiple sports. I think you're going to be amazed to see the number of kids plucked out of this area to go to those top-notch programs on the East Coast and over in Colorado areas and things like that. Continue to see it. You're already seeing it, but definitely growing. And I think our community is just a microcosm of what's happening here in the region.
And two third place finishes in the first year in the ECC is a very, very good starting point for that long term success. As we're winding down here on not only this show but also on the spring sports season and really the entire school year in general, just want to give fans a kind of a recap of Lebanon's first year in the ECC because it was a very, very good one. I'll get your thoughts on that here in just a moment, as it was also, of course, your first year going through Lebanon as well. But you look at the way things shake out. Lebanon wins in the ECC team titles in boys and girls cross country, volleyball, wrestling, girls bowling, and softball. We also had top 3 ECC finishes in both boys and girls lacrosse, boys track and field, competitive cheer, boys bowling, boys and girls basketball, and boys golf. I mean, this is as close to a grand slam as you could ask for. And I would imagine not only your first year at Lebanon, but also the school's first year in the ECC. I'm wondering, when you get the chance, first of all, over the summer to take stock, so to speak, because we still have some time left, and think back to how year one went, what do you think is going to stand out most to you?
The consistency across the board. I think we were competitive in every sport. And as we talked about before the year started, being the third largest school in the league, we anticipated, and I'm sure that went into the thought process for pursuing the opportunity to shift to the ECC, that it would be more favorable for our programs. And I obviously I wasn't here at that time, but it certainly held to be true in the way that we fit in. And when you have those more competitive teams across the board that are playing meaningful games later into seasons, I think it breeds spirit, school spirit. I think it breeds camaraderie from kids, support of each other's programs, and all of that going into post-COVID when we can get fannies back in the seats really excites me to get our war zone, our student section back out to support these successful programs, to support each other. That's really what I envision is building this spirit for our brand and our community, their engagement. That's my project this summer, so that we come back out on the other side of this and people can share in this success with us, with our kids, with our school, our community, our cheerleaders, everybody, the band. And it's one big fun, athletic season that we're all enjoying together, and we're proud to be Warriors. So in a nutshell, just glad we're all competitive and competing and in this with great other communities in the ECC. They've all been awesome.
For you personally, and this lastly before I let you go, for you personally, how was your first year at Lebanon High School making the move over from Little Miami?
I wore a mask like every day for like hours. No, it was good. Just a lot to learn. The transition's tough on top of COVID, to really get to know everybody, their role, where to go for what. On top of it, not being able to have face-to-face meetings or your typical district-wide meetings to get to know everybody at the different buildings and different offices and how they work. So a little bit isolated, which is not always good when you're going into a new place trying to meet everybody, but was welcomed with open arms, great coaches in place. And like I said, great spirit, great pride for our community. And hopefully that support continues, and we'll just keep working hard. But the kids have been absolutely awesome, and they appreciate the success and us doing things like this to share their success and promote the things they're doing. So thank you to you guys as well.
It's been a lot of fun to talk about it all year long. All of the success you had moving from the GWAC to the ECC, right up there for the All Sports Trophy in year one. That's a really big deal as well. So what a stamp that the school has made and you have made in year one, Brian or Keith. We certainly appreciate the time here going forward. We're looking forward to seeing if we can, who knows, maybe bring home a state title or two, and we can talk about it in the fall.
We'll do our best. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good summer. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely. That is Lebanon Athletic Director Keith Pantley joining us for the spring sports season finale of this week in Lebanon Warriors Athletics here on LebanonWarriors.com and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.